Hello, this is the November 22nd, 2010 issue of United Nations Week News and Views. I'm John Kerry, and the views expressed here are mine alone unless I indicate some other source. The purpose of this program is to bring before you information about recent events at the UN that you probably will not come across anywhere else. I think as we go through today's program you'll see how much of this, if not all of it, would have escaped your attention had it not been for your wisdom in tuning into United Nations Week. The first subject is Universal Children's Day. That took place on November the 20th. On that day, two senior UN officials said that millions of children across the world are denied the right to enjoy their childhood as a result of conflicts that expose them to violence and rob them of their innocence. The two are Radhika Kumaraswamy, the UN Special Representative for Children in Armed Conflict, and Alain Ravoy, Undersecretary General for Peacekeeping. The two of them said, quote, "Growing up in conflict, their innocence is stolen when they are abducted from schools, recruited to fight, wounded or killed, separated from their families, and emotionally as well as physically scarred for life." The two officials drew attention to the needs of children in the following places: Afghanistan, Burundi, Central African Republic, Chad, Cote d'Ivoire, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Haiti, Iraq, Lebanon, Myanmar, Nepal, the occupied Palestinian territory, and Israel, Somalia, Sudan, and all other countries in conflict. The two officials highlighted the achievements of the UN in the protection of children in armed conflicts over the past decade. And they said that the UN has secured the demobilization of thousands of children associated with armed forces and groups over the past 10 years. And they pointed out that the Security Council last June expressed its readiness to impose sanctions against those named as persistent abusers of children's rights. This year alone, UN peacekeepers in the Democratic Republic of the Congo freed 1,000 girls and boys from the armed forces ranks, armed forces and groups, that is. In Sudan, over 200 children have been demobilized, while the joint African Union UN mission has played an important part in the release of another 1,000. The two officials said that we still have to address many more challenges that children face during conflict. And listen to this: as long as schools become targets of attacks and children once freed are re-recruited or abused in the absence of rule of law, we pledge to carry on this important work. Notice that apparently schools are raided by recruiters who swoop down and carry off children to add to their armed forces. Isn't that awful? Well, so much for that. Now I want to turn to another aspect of children, and that is the question of life imprisonment of children under 18. And here's how this issue comes up. On November 19th, the Third Committee of the General Assembly took up a draft resolution reaffirming that the best interests of the child must be a primary consideration of all decisions concerning children in the administration of justice. The resolution emphasized the needs and physical, emotional, and social and psychological development of babies and children affected by parental detention and imprisonment, and the importance of collecting information on children within the criminal justice system. The committee approved this draft resolution without a vote. In other words, the person in the chair says, or something like this, "May I take it as this draft resolution will be adopted without a vote. And if nobody raises a hand and says, oh, we want to vote, or we object, or something like that, then it cannot be, quote, adopted without a vote. But this one was. However, after the adoption without a vote, the U.S. representative made a certain point. He said that the U.S. was glad to join the consensus, but that the U.S. had concerns about sections of the draft that called upon states to adhere to principles that the U.S. had not accepted. And then he gave an example. The draft called for life imprisonment not to be imposed on persons under the age of 18. And the representative went on to say that that was not an obligation imposed by international law, but by a treaty obligation that the United States has not agreed to, presumably referring to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which the United States has not joined. Well, I searched through that convention looking for a provision obligating parties not to imprison children under 18 for life. I couldn't find it, so I don't know what the U.S. representative was getting at when he said that the U.S. would have to make the point that this obligation not to impose life imprisonment on persons under 18 was something that the U.S. had not agreed to in the Convention on the Rights of the Child. Now I turn to another subject, a report on freedom of religion. This is a State Department project, and the 2010 issue of the report on religious freedom has just been issued on November 17th. Hillary Rodham Clinton, Secretary of State, said, quote, "This report reflects a broad understanding of religious freedom, one that begins with private beliefs and communal religious expression, but doesn't end there. Religious freedom also includes the right to raise one's children in one's faith, share one's faith peacefully with others, publish religious materials without censorship, change one's religion by choice and not coercion, or to practice no religion at all." She went on to say that now some people propose that to protect religious freedom, we must ban speech that is critical or offensive about religion. She said, "We do not agree. The defamation of religious resolution adopted by the UN Human Rights Council again this year, and now pending before the General Assembly, reflects the other view being that of those countries who are very active in promoting opposition to defamation of religions and would like to see the UN urging countries to make it a criminal offense to defame religions." Ms. Clinton went on to say that the U.S. joins in all nations coming together to condemn hateful speech, but we do not support the banning of that speech. We don't like hateful speech, but we're not going to make it a criminal offense. And she went on to say that freedom of speech and freedom of religion are strengthened by a diversity of ideas, and attempts to stifle them or drive them underground have the opposite effect. And she said that societies in which freedom of religion and speech flourish are more resilient, more stable, more peaceful, and more productive. And she referred to President Obama's speech in Cairo in June of last year, in which signaled, said she, a significant increase in our engagement with Muslim-majority countries. And in passing, let me just observe that the position that Secretary Clinton has expressed opposing the criminalization of defamation of religion is very much at odds with the view of many countries belonging to the UN Human Rights Council, who decried defamation of religions and urged countries to criminalize defamation of religions. Well, now finally I want to turn to tobacco control and the strengthening of worldwide efforts to control tobacco. there is something called the World Health Organization's Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. World Health Organization, of course, is one of the UN specialized agencies. So the World Health Organization promoted the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, and the parties to that convention met last week and unanimously adopted a number of decisions. It seems that a number of countries are facing growing pressure from the tobacco industry. In response, the parties to the convention adopted a declaration reaffirming their strong commitment to prioritize health measures and to exchange information on the industry's activities which attempt to interfere with the implementation of public health policies. Well, the meeting decided made the following three decisions. One that flavoring ingredients that increase attractiveness of tobacco products should be regulated in order to reduce the number of new smokers, especially among youths. Second, that smoking cessation services should be integrated into national health systems. And thirdly, that the parties should establish an infrastructure and build capacity to support education, communication, and training, thereby raising public awareness and promoting social change. This conference of the state parties to this convention is the governing body, and as of November 2010 is comprised of 171 parties to the convention. And the WHO's Framework Convention on Tobacco Control is the first international treaty negotiated under the auspices of the World Health Organization and provides a new legal dimension for international health cooperation. Friends, that's all for this November 22nd issue of United Nations Week News and Views. We'll be back with the next issue. Meantime, we would like to hear your views on these or other UN-related issues. Just send them along to www.unweek.blogspot.com. Goodbye for now, and thank you very much for watching.